I'm going to be taking a look at the computer game Age of War and offer an analysis of the game in terms of the themes we've been studying, specifically the states of gamic action, as well as the ways in which colonization and capitalism are central to the game. To start, I want to take note of the non-diegetic menu that I went through quickly at the beginning, in which I selected play, as well as I set the difficulty to normal. As I'll soon explain, the entirety of operator action in Age of War is non-diegetic, as this menu offers an example of this. If we look up to the top of the screen now, we see multiple non-diegetic features. These menus are the only actionable items for the player. In these menus, the player can select different militaristic units they want to set out for different prices, as well as they can buy turrets, and eventually they can upgrade their base to one of higher caliber. As we can see now, the diegetic action of the game is a battle of two sides with seemingly identical warriors and bases, one controlled by the player and one controlled by the computer. The goal of the player, essentially, boils down merely to asset management. The gamer must continuously purchase military units or turrets in order to inflict damage on the opponent before the opponent reaches your base. Finally, once a player achieves enough XP, they have the ability to upgrade their base, as we will soon see, and historically advance their colonization. As we saw a few moments ago, there's a special attack, which is available for use after a short period of loading time. To formalize what I've said so far, I'm going to briefly summarize the stages of gamic action of Age of War. To start, the pure process, the diegetic machine acts, seems to be obvious. They are the entirety of the battle between the two sides. Moving on, the subjective algorithm, or the non-diegetic operator acts, are all the purchases of units or turrets as well as the upgrading of the base. Next, we have the dromonon, the diegetic operator acts, which, in Age of War, are the most difficult to distinguish. It seems that the only act where the operator enters the diegesis is the placing of a turret on the base, which is a very subtle action. Finally, the play of structure, or the non-diegetic machine acts, are the training of each unit, as you can see as the horizontal loading bar up top, as well as the loading of the special attack. To further the analysis, I want to look into the ramifications of a game with minimal to no diegetic operator action. How does a game like this create a sense of immersion? Furthermore, if the player doesn't control the action of the war, doesn't it seem that the gameplay would be essentially predetermined? As you can see, I don't actually control the battle at all, I just control which units I choose to purchase. However, I want to argue that the game does in fact foster a sense of immersion, and that is wholly based on the tactical purchasing which represents capitalism. The game can be boiled down to a capitalistic manipulation of time. In other words, you are essentially rewarded for getting the most amount of assets, in this case these gold coins, in the shortest amount of time. The player must find the proper balance of purchasing and saving, as the more coins you save up, the more powerful and fierce of a unit you can purchase, and eventually, if you save up enough, you can upgrade your base. However, if you wait and save for too long, the opponent will begin inflicting their own damage on your base. So therefore, it seems like Age of War simply is about economic risk, how much the player is willing to sacrifice in the current state in order to achieve more in the future state. As you see, every time I make a purchase of either a unit or a turret, the overall coins that I have goes down. So there have been a few instances in this short gameplay alone where I've been temporarily unable to purchase due to a lack of sufficient coins, and in that case I have to continue waiting until my players, or the units that are out there, can kill the opponent's units before I can purchase more units. And so, Age of War, in a sense, serves as a representation of global, historic, militaristic investment. The side that eventually wins the game, in this case wins the war, is the one who tactically perfects the balance of purchasing and saving. So I do believe that the game has historical accuracy as the side with most economic leverage, the side who is able to upgrade their soldiers as well as their weaponry and base before the other side, historically, as well as in the game, they end up coming out successful. Returning to the diegesis, we can see that both sides have clearly evolved to the next age as the military units have advanced in their armor as well as their weaponry. And if we look at the new prices, we can see that the knight is now $500, the archer is $75, and finally the swordman, the cheapest, is $50. And so this increase of price clearly shows and clearly puts more of ramifications onto the capitalistic features of the game. I now need more money to purchase different units. As you can see now, I cannot purchase the knight, and so I'm relying on the turret as well as the special attack in order to gain my money up in order to purchase this knight. So clearly there is a lot of strategy as well as capitalistic features to this game, and I hope that I have argued for this game as a representation of global capitalism as well as the technological advancements of global colonization and historic colonization.